Can you transport or store energy using Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is digital energy.
Bitcoin mining is now like a money battery.
By using the Bitcoin network, you can transport energy without wires.
Bitcoin can really be thought of as a battery, as a form of storage.
One novel strategy being looked at is using crypto mining as a form of energy storage.
A lot of places in the world have a lot of energy, but it's very expensive to get that to the population center. So the north of Canada has it.
So you don't need wires.
Exactly.
So as you can see, this is an idea that's been popping up all over the internet, from various podcasts to random comments on Reddit and YouTube to even the World Economic Forum weighing in on this idea. But before we go any further, let's make sure that we have a clear understanding of what they're talking about. Say you're in control of a source of power generation, and you have some extra capacity that isn't being used, and you don't have anywhere to store it. What do? Just let it go to waste? In the past, you might have been out of luck, but since the advent of Bitcoin mining, you can use that extra power to mine Bitcoin. What that means is you use your computer's power to verify blocks of transactions on the Bitcoin network and receive Bitcoin as a reward. If you need energy at some time in the future, just sell the Bitcoin back to the grid for electricity. This seemingly allows you to store your energy in the form of Bitcoin. If you want to transport the energy, just redeem the Bitcoin for energy in a different place, and voila. Also, since it seems we can store energy without batteries and transport it without wires, this massively saves on infrastructure costs as well. So then I guess the problem is solved. We just build more Bitcoin miners to store more energy, and then we can store as much as we want and then ride off into the sunset happily ever after, right? Ooh, actually, no, there's a problem with that. One that Dr. Saifuddin Ammous can help us explain.
What happens is that, if more miners try and mine copper or gold or silver, you end up with a lot more copper or gold or silver. But with Bitcoin, the more miners that get into the network, you still get the same number of Bitcoin as was predetermined earlier. But the difference is that you don't get, but it just gets harder for the individual miners to get into the network. So it's more like a sports competition wherein there's one trophy, and then the more competitors get in, the trophy just gets harder to win. It doesn't get, you don't get more trophies handed out.
So what he's saying is that Bitcoin mining is a zero-sum game, meaning the more people who do it, the less reward each individual person gets, because the total amount of reward available for each block that is mined in Bitcoin is fixed. It doesn't grow with the number of people who are mining it. So wait a sec. The whole idea was we were storing energy as money, but because Bitcoin mining is a zero-sum game, the amount of money we get doesn't change regardless of the amount of energy we use. If we're storing energy as money, the amount of money we get should be proportional to the amount of energy we use, but it isn't. The whole Bitcoin mining network could consist of a single Raspberry Pi, or it could be a Dyson sphere that would consume all the energy of the sun, and yet we would get the exact same number of Bitcoin in both cases. So how can we be storing energy as money if using vastly different quantities of energy gives us the exact same amount of money? Another way we could analyze this problem is by looking at it through the lens of physics. In physics, we learn that there are many different forms of energy: kinetic energy, gravitational energy, mechanical energy, thermal, chemical, electromagnetic, nuclear, etc. These can be broadly categorized as either kinetic energy, the energy of motion, or potential energy, which is stored energy. If we look at the Bitcoin mining network through this lens, what do we see? We see a bunch of computers using electrical energy and producing thermal energy as waste heat. But we see no storage. Bitcoin miners don't compress springs, they don't pump water up high into reservoirs, and they don't create chemical energy like recharging a battery does. So by looking at the Bitcoin network through this lens, we reach the same conclusion. So if that's the case, why is everyone so confused? Why is everyone saying that Bitcoin allows you to store energy? I think it comes down to that they're accidentally conflating selling something with using something to provide a service. If you generate and sell a commodity like energy, you're increasing the supply of that good in the market, thus driving prices down. But if you generate and then use a commodity to provide a service, you're not changing the available supply of that commodity, thus leaving prices unaffected. If you look at it from the perspective of the person who had the energy, both scenarios look the same. You lose energy and gain money, hence the confusion. But the crucial difference is what happens to the energy. In the first scenario, it is transferred to another owner intact. But in the second scenario, it is destroyed in the process of Bitcoin mining. Everyone who claims that Bitcoin mining is a way of storing or transporting energy is thinking of it as the former scenario, when in reality, it is the latter.
So what's the net effect of that on the price of electricity worldwide? Is that deflationary with regards to electricity costs?
And this is the crux of the issue. It doesn't matter how much energy you produce in far-flung places. It could be a solar panel's worth, a volcano's worth, or even a Dyson sphere's worth. If you immediately use that energy to mine Bitcoin, it is unavailable for other purposes. The supply in the market never changes, and thus this will never be deflationary on the price of energy. So, no, Bitcoin is not a way to store, transport, or teleport energy. And now that we understand this, let's use an analogy to really illustrate how absurd this idea actually is. Let's say you have a pair of shoes that are worth $10, and you're looking for a place to store them. You've run out of closet space, so you need somewhere else to put them. You also have a friend who happens to be a pyromaniac. They just love setting things on fire. So your friend offers you a deal. They say, "Hey, if you set your shoes on fire, I'll pay you $10. Now you say, "Oh, this is wonderful, because if I set my shoes on fire, I'll get $10 in exchange. And then I'm storing my shoes as money because I can later go back to the store and buy them again for the same $10. So there we go. I've apparently solved my shoe storage problem by lighting them on fire. But wait, is there any truth to this idea? There must be something if all these people are talking about it. Well, you can use this as a way to subsidize energy production that occurs in remote places far away from the rest of the grid, but that doesn't make it a way to store or transport energy. So if we want to promote this idea, that's fine, but we should correctly refer to it as a form of energy subsidy rather than energy storage.
Some of it was absolutely fascinating, like that idea that you can monetize energy production in areas that wouldn't be able to ship the electricity to market. That's absolutely mind-boggling. It'll take me like 5 years to think that through.
All right, folks, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I saved you some time thinking about this issue. I'll see you in the next video, and until next time, keep it real.